Blackmagic has released footage for the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, and it answered all of the questions that I've been having about this camera. Battery life, can you use a Metabones adapter on it? What does the footage look like? Does it really do well in low light and ISO, like higher ISOs and stuff like that? All of those answers were answered just by releasing this footage and reading through all the different people's experiences with the cameras and how they felt about them. This camera is a must-have for me. It's 100% gonna be my B cam, super low impact, really small form factor, shoots awesome low light. It just checks all the boxes. It really does. It's awesome. I know I had a review a while ago that I had a cost breakdown of this camera, and I really struck a nerve with a lot of people. I had a lot of people really angry with me, and rightfully so. As I was reading through the comments, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, all of you gave awesome points, and it actually helped me reevaluate how I want to go about what I want to get in my kit for the camera. So there's this footage that came out of Seoul Zoo, and then I read through the entire description on Vimeo, and they said they didn't have CFast cards, and so they actually recorded on the Samsung T5 external SSD hard drive, and they said they had no problems and it worked fantastic. And this was one of my biggest questions, and what a lot of people on the comments of my breakdown video pointed out was, you can record on this. I was super hesitant and super weary that that would even work. Mostly because Blackmagic is notorious for releasing cameras I would consider in beta mode. So they say like, oh, hey, you can do this and this, but you can't until a month, 2-3 months after the camera comes out, and they have firmware updates that you can do that. But this confirmed that you can actually record to the SSD through the USB-C port and not have any issues, at least shooting raw 4:1. That is incredible, like super awesome. So yes, to cut down costs, don't buy CFast cards, buy the SSDs and like just record through that. Someone is going to come up with a system that you can connect that SSD to the top or the bottom. If you don't care about aesthetics of the camera or care about like how you're perceived with this dongle, I guess it's the camera dongle. Oh, Apple does it now, Blackmagic. Anyway, that was a huge upsell for me. I was like, yes, I'm in. This sounds awesome. So I did actually go onto Blackmagic's site, and they have on the Pocket Cinema Camera section, they have a gallery that has all the footage that they've shot, all the that they had people shoot for them, and they have it so you can download it. So I downloaded it all and I took a look at it. One of my favorites was the biking one. They actually gave you the RAW, and it was interesting, and I don't know, I'm excited to find out why it did this. In the RAW, when you go to the settings, you can change it from like 100 ISO up to 1,000, but you can't go up to the 3200. So I wonder if that has to do with the dual ISO. I'm assuming so, that it was in the original like native ISO, and then you can go to the dual native ISO to go to the low light, which I would guess gives you more of those functions in the RAW. But I couldn't go over 1,000. The noise level on this camera, from the footage that I could see, was fantastic. The color space matches Blackmagic. It seems to have the buttery smoothness in the highlights close to the 4.6K, and that's probably because of the extra stop of dynamic range that it has over the 4K Ursa. It looks so comparable to me to the 4.6K. Like the color science and the way it handled in DaVinci Resolve felt like I was just working with 4.6K footage. So I'm 100% behind getting this camera. Super stoked. I pre-ordered it. I'm ready to get this sucker in my hands and do tons of tests between the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, the Ursa Mini 4.6K, and the Ursa Mini 4K. I'm excited to see how those three cameras kind of stack up against each other. Low light for this camera was another question that I had that was answered. Low light looks good, and I was actually kind of impressed. I'm excited to see more footage as it kind of streams out of the low light kind of shown that isn't shot with a model and obviously has light on them. I'd like to see something that was more raw out like in New York City or a big city or something where you're just using the natural light that's there. I'd like to see some of that stuff, because that, for me as a documentary filmmaker, that's a lot of what I'm shooting is kind of run and gun on the street, kind of dusk, even sometimes into nighttime. You don't have lights, you can't set up lights, and so I want to see some of that stuff. Battery, that was the other thing. I was so excited. The mountain biker talked about how he was really surprised at how long the battery lasted, the LPN Canon battery, which actually was just an off-brand. He said it lasted about a half a day. My guess is he was turning off the camera between shots, would be my assumption. I don't know. I can only assume that, but I don't know. But that excited me that I had on my breakdown, and a lot of people ripped me apart for it. Fair enough, guys. Rip me apart. It's cool. I got no problem with it. Anyway, I had 10 batteries on there because when I initially had made that video, I was under the impression that those batteries would last about a half hour. Blackmagic came out later and said that the batteries should last about an hour. And then I was like, well, you'd still need 10 batteries to last an entire day if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you have no way of recharging these batteries. A 10-hour day, 10 batteries, that makes sense. What Joey Knox was saying was the battery lasted longer than he expected. So that got me really excited. A lot of you said, I want to put like a V-mount battery on the back and use the power. Yeah, of course, you can do that. That's great. My point of this camera that I loved from the Seoul Zoo video is they talked about having such a low impact, drawing no attention to themselves. That's exactly what this camera is all about. In my opinion, again, this is just my opinion and my use case, I want a camera that is not gonna draw any attention, that I can just take out on the street. No one's gonna be the wiser. It's not gonna draw all this attention and be like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Like, where are you shooting? Like, it's just like, oh, hey, he's a tourist with a DSLR and he's just shooting stuff. Like, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm stoked that Johnny Knox confirmed that the battery will last a little longer than expected. Now, I don't know what that means, and I'm excited to get my hands on the camera to test that out, but that's huge. So that would cut the cost down so much by just cutting those batteries in half. Like, just do 4 to 5 batteries instead of the 10 that I talked about. If you're starting out and you're just like, you're trying to decide, should I get a DSLR or this camera? If you don't need autofocus, just get this camera. Like, if you need autofocus, this is not a camera that you would want. If autofocus isn't a big deal for you, this is the camera to get. It has literally checked every box, and I'm super impressed with Blackmagic. They haven't postponed the shipping. I've noticed that there's been a few unboxing videos coming out. The footage is hitting, and it looks like they are shipping this thing in September, which kudos, Blackmagic. That's the first time that I think I've ever seen that you've nailed the deadline, and I'm so happy that you did. This was a rant. I kind of went off. I was just so excited. I had to film this. I got some comments on my last videos saying, hey, what do you think of the new footage? I thought I'd share this with you guys. Super excited. I hope you guys are excited. I would highly recommend pre-ordering this camera. The footage, in my opinion, if you like Blackmagic color science, if you like Blackmagic cameras, this camera feels just like the 4.6K. Now, obviously, the form factor is smaller and all of that, and you have more of a crop sensor. But again, you can use the Metal Bones speed booster on it, or you can use speed boosters on it. I'm sure more are going to hit the market. So you get basically the same field of view as you would on an Ursa Mini 4K or 4.6K. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Please check out my other videos. I got a lot of review videos about the Ursas. Goodbye.